No. Yeah.
Let's go over the incredible.
No.
Disappearing. Here.
Travel with us back in time as we explore the life of a young man whose reputation for lawlessness in the American West became associated with his name. The life and times of Billy Clanton, a cowboy who lived and died at a young age but left behind a fascinating legacy, are about to be explored, so hold onto your hats. Let's go back to the days when law enforcement officers and outlaws faced off in the dusty streets of Tombstone, Arizona. Sunrise in Tombstone, Billy Clanton's last day. Imagine the dawn of October 26, 1881. Tombstone, Arizona, a town caught in the grip of a profound tension, teetering on the brink of history. Today, a young man named Billy Clanton would unknowingly live out his final hours. Billy Clanton, a member of the notorious Cowboys, was no stranger to danger. Yet, as he began his day in the dusty streets of Tombstone, he couldn't have known the tumult that awaited him. With every tick of the clock, his fate grew ominously closer. On this day, the town's simmering feud would boil over spectacularly. The Clantons, the McClorys, and their cowboy cohorts would face law enforcement officers Virgil, Morgan, and Wyatt Earp, joined by the quick-tempered Doc Holliday. The looming confrontation, a historic gun battle at the OK Corral. But let's rewind the clock to the morning for a second. There was a strange quiet in the air, according to historical reports. Tombstone, known for its bustling silver mines, had grown rapidly, swelling to a population of over 7,000 in just 4 short years. But the usually bustling streets were eerily quiet that fateful day in October. Billy, a 19-year-old cowboy, was tough. He was feared for his temper and speed, but did he sense the impending doom? The records remain silent on that. We know that as the sun rose on Tombstone that day, it marked the beginning of Billy Clanton's tragic end. There were heated words, threats, and a growing sense of certainty. Yet for all his bravado, Billy could not have predicted the deadly shootout that would close his chapter in the chronicles of the Wild West. The Clanton-Earp feud. In the days leading up to that fateful afternoon at the OK Corral, the friction between the Earps, Doc Holliday, and the Cowboys, including Billy Clanton, was undeniable. Let's step back to understand the roots of this tension that would ignite a historical conflict. The Cowboys, a loosely organized tribe of outlaws, cattle rustlers, and horse thieves, ruled Tombstone, Arizona. They irritated law-abiding Tombstone residents with their reckless, lawless actions. Enter the Earp brothers, Virgil, Morgan, and Wyatt, and their associate, Doc Holliday. These men stood for law and order in a town where those concepts often seemed negotiable. The stark contrast between the Earps and the Cowboys created a division in the city that ran deeper than the mines extracting silver from its hills. As lawmen, the Earps found themselves frequently butting heads with the Cowboys. This wasn't merely a professional dispute, it was personal. The Earps held a deep-seated belief in justice, and the unruly Cowboys stood in stark opposition to their principles. Despite his youth, Billy Clanton was a central figure in these escalating tensions. He constantly battled with the Earps, earning him a place in their hostility. The stats show the scale of this dispute. The population of Tombstone in 1881 was around 7,000, but the Cowboys constituted a significant proportion. The Earps and Holliday, despite their lawful intentions, were markedly outnumbered, but they were undeterred. Their resolve to uphold the law was ironclad. The frictions between the Earps and the Cowboys were a slow-burning fuse, inching closer to an explosive climax. In this volatile mix, Billy Clanton was a spark. He was youthful, impulsive, and deeply loyal to his cowboy brethren. As tensions escalated, threats were hurled, and the line in the sand was drawn. A showdown became inevitable. It was a time bomb waiting for the right spark to set it off. And on October 26, 1881, that spark would come, and Billy Clanton would find himself center stage in a conflict that would sear his name into the annals of American history. High Noon Showdown, the incendiary gunfight at OK Corral. It was at the stroke of high noon when the simmering tension finally erupted. The location? A narrow lot next to the OK Corral, a livery and horse corral in Tombstone, Arizona. The setting for one of the most legendary gunfights in American Wild West history was a lot. Gunfight wasn't random. It was a direct result of the escalating tensions between the Earps, Doc Holliday, and the Cowboys, who were, on that fateful day, represented by Billy Clanton, his brother Ike, and the McClory brothers. The parties had clashed verbally throughout the day, and the altercation was primed to become physical. Around 3 p.m., the tension reached a boiling point. A heated confrontation unfolded, sparking a 30-second shootout that reverberated throughout history. Remember, this wasn't a Hollywood film. 30 seconds of real gunfire meant chaos, danger, and terrifying unpredictability. For those who know their Wild West history, the gunfight at the OK Corral stands out not just because of who was involved, but also because of its bloody outcome. In the aftermath of that half-minute gunfire, Billy Clanton and the McClory brothers lay dead, with Virgil and Morgan Earp seriously wounded. Billy Clanton, a life of defiance and dust. William Harrison Clanton, better known as Billy, wasn't just another face in the crowd of the American Wild West. His short, eventful life was marked by a spirit of defiance and an attraction to a cowboy's harsh, dust-streaked life. In his 19 years, Billy lived more vividly than most could in a lifetime. The cowboys were notorious for their lawlessness. From cattle rustling to horse thieving, they starkly contrasted with law and order represented by the Earp brothers. Billy fit right into this wild bunch with his bold behavior and quick draw. Billy's rebellious nature often brought him into conflict with the law, but it wasn't just the Earps who had a problem with him. Even within the cowboys, Billy's fiery demeanor often led to confrontations. This young cowboy's life was never destined to be ordinary. From the day he first set foot in Tombstone to the afternoon of the gunfight at the OK Corral, Billy's life was an intense whirlwind of danger, excitement, and conflict. Billy Clanton's life was brief, tumultuous, and tragically cut short. Yet he left a lasting mark on the Wild West narrative, representing a time of lawlessness, chaos, and the relentless quest for survival. Even today, his tale is as compelling and resonant as the stark, dust-choked landscapes he once roamed. From dust to legend, the legacy of Billy Clanton. Billy Clanton's short life and tragic end left a lasting impression today. His life and the famed gunfight at the OK Corral are inextricably linked in Western lore. But Billy Clanton wasn't your average cowboy. He symbolized the Wild West when violence and lawlessness were the norms rather than the exception, and when survival depended on your ability to draw a weapon quickly. After his death, Billy was elevated to mythic status. His narrative's many film and literary adaptations have helped solidify his place in Western folklore. His persona has been presented in movies and writings as a villain and a sad hero. Billy Clanton's life and tragic end have been memorialized in song and film. The OK Corral gunfight scene has been recreated in numerous Western films, including My Darling Clementine, Tombstone, and Wyatt Earp, to name just a few. Each portrayal adds another layer to Billy's character and expands his legend. Death's Echo, Billy Clanton's grave. Billy Clanton, aged 19 at his death, found his final resting place in Tombstone's Boot Hill graveyard. It's a quiet and stark reminder of the turbulent life that this young cowboy lived. The epitaph on his grave reads, "Billy Clanton murdered in the streets of Tombstone," a blunt testament to the brutality of the era and the shocking end of his young life. Boot Hill Graveyard, one of Tombstone's oldest cemeteries, is named for the phrase Boot Hill, a colloquialism for the graves of those who died with their boots on. That usually meant a violent end, and it was tragically fitting for Billy. Sitting among the other markers at Boot Hill, his grave is a silent monument to a man who was anything but quiet in life. Now, more than a century later, Billy Clanton's grave continues to draw visitors worldwide. It is a solemn tribute to a young life cut short, a poignant reminder of the lawless times that characterized Tombstone in its silver mining heyday. Stepping into Boot Hill Graveyard, one can't help but feel a connection to the past. Here lies a young man who embodied the defiant spirit of an era marked by lawlessness and survival of the fittest. Like the other markers around it, his grave tells a story of a time that feels both distant and familiar. Before you ride off into the sunset, remember to hit the like button if you enjoyed our historical deep dive today, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on our upcoming journeys into the past. Have any thoughts or questions about Billy Clanton's story? Please share them in the comments section. We love hearing your perspectives.